Jordan Mason's heart pounds as he slips away from the prison transfer line, his eyes darting for an escape route. The human inmate's daring break for freedom sets off a cacophony of alarms throughout Galactic Penitentiary Station Omega. Chaos erupts as guards scramble to contain the situation, but Jordan's 10 years of confinement have honed his survival instincts. He rounds a corner at full sprint, nearly colliding with a lone guard. Time seems to slow as he locks eyes with Lara, the trill female known for her striking beauty and unwavering adherence to regulations. Jordan tenses, ready to fight or flee, but something in Lara's gaze gives him pause. For a moment they stand frozen, prisoner and guard, human and alien. Then, in a decision that will alter both their fates, Lara grabs Jordan's arm and pulls him into a maintenance tunnel. "This way!" she hisses, her voice barely audible over the blaring alarms. As they navigate the labyrinthine passages of the massive space station, Jordan's mind races. "Why are you helping me?" he asks between breaths. Lara's antennae twitch with agitation. The Galactic Union's treatment of human prisoners, it's not right. I can't be part of it anymore. Their flight is interrupted by angry shouts echoing through the tunnel. A group of Zargax inmates, taking advantage of the chaos, have broken free from their own cells. The reptilian aliens charge towards Jordan and Lara, their scaled fists raised for attack. Without hesitation, Jordan steps in front of Lara. He drops into a fighting stance, muscles coiled and ready. The first Zargax lunges, but Jordan sidesteps, using the alien's momentum to slam it into the wall. He dispatches the second with a series of precise strikes, targeting weak points in the creature's scaly hide. Lara watches in amazement as Jordan takes down the third Zargax with an improvised weapon fashioned from a broken pipe. His movements are fluid, his tactics brilliant. She realizes her preconceptions about humans have been shattered. With the immediate threat neutralized, they press on. Jordan follows Lara through a series of restricted areas, their footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. They pause at a sealed door, and Lara hesitates. "We shouldn't go in there," she warns. Jordan overrides the lock, and the door slides open to reveal a horrifying sight. Rows of stasis pods line the walls, each containing a human subject. Holographic displays flicker with data from ongoing experiments. "What is this?" Jordan demands, his voice tight with anger. Lara's face pales. "I had no idea. This goes beyond mistreatment. It's a conspiracy." They gather what evidence they can before continuing their escape. The weight of their discovery adds urgency to their flight. They reach a seldom-used docking bay where an outdated shuttle sits, neglected but functional. As Jordan begins the launch sequence, he notices Lara standing at the shuttle's entrance, conflict evident in her features. He extends his hand, an invitation and a promise. "Come with me," he urges. "Help me expose the truth." Lara looks at Jordan's outstretched hand, then back at the prison that has been her life for so long. The alarms continue to blare, a reminder of the choice before her. Her fingers twitch as she contemplates grasping not just Jordan's hand, but a new future, one where a human inmate and an alien prison guard might find more than just escape. Lara's hand trembled as she reached for Jordan's outstretched palm. With a deep breath, she grasped it firmly, stepping into the shuttle. The door sealed behind her with a hiss as Jordan engaged the launch sequence. As the small craft detached from the docking bay, reality set in. Jordan's brow furrowed as he examined the shuttle systems. "This isn't good," he muttered, tapping at the control panel. "We're low on fuel, and life support is minimal." Lara leaned over his shoulder, her antennae twitching nervously. "We can't go far in this," she agreed. "We need a plan." Jordan's eyes scanned the star chart. "There," he pointed. "Outpost Zeta 9. It's within range, and if I remember correctly, it's a haven for those avoiding Union law." "It's risky," Lara warned, "but we don't have much choice." As they approached the outpost, Lara's fingers flew across the console. "I'm creating false credentials," she explained. "It won't hold up to deep scrutiny, but it should get us through initial checks." Jordan nodded, impressed. He focused on the shuttle's systems, tweaking and adjusting. "I can make this look like a standard merchant vessel," he said. "It's not pretty, but it'll do." They docked at Outpost Zeta 9 without incident, the false credentials holding. As they stepped into the bustling station, the air thick with the scents of various alien species and illegal substances, Jordan felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. A gravelly voice caught their attention. Well, well, what have we here? They turned to see a reptilian alien, his scales shimmering under the harsh station lights. A human and a trill? Now that's an odd pair. We're just passing through, Jordan said cautiously. The alien's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Name's Crix, and I think you might need my help. His eyes glinted with interest. For a price, of course. Lara stepped forward. What kind of price? Crix grinned, revealing rows of sharp teeth. There's an artifact I need. Valuable data crystal. Get it for me, and I'll set you up with new identities, credits, and a ship that can actually take you somewhere. Jordan and Lara exchanged glances. It was a risk, but they needed the resources. Deal, Jordan said. As they followed Crix's directions through the station's winding corridors, they overheard snatches of conversation that made them pause. In a dimly lit alcove, they spotted a group of well-dressed individuals, Galactic Union officials, based on their insignias. The human experimentation program is proceeding as planned, one official said in a low voice. The consortium is pleased with our progress. Jordan's fists clenched. Lara placed a hand on his arm, urging caution. They moved on, their suspicions confirmed, and their grit strengthened. The artifact retrieval proved challenging. Jordan's combat skills and Lara's tactical knowledge were put to the test as they navigated the treacherous underbelly of Outpost Zeta-9. In close quarters, they found themselves pressed together, acutely aware of each other's presence. With the data crystal secured, they returned to Crix. The dealer examined their prize with gleaming eyes. Excellent work, he hissed. Now, let's get you on your way. As Crix prepared their new identities and ship, alarms blared throughout the station. A gruff voice echoed over the comm system. Attention all personnel. 2 fugitives from Galactic Penitentiary Station Omega have been spotted. A human male and a trill female. Apprehend on sight. Time to go, Jordan said urgently. They raced through the station, dodging through crowds and ducking into shadows. The sound of heavy footsteps and shouted orders grew closer. In here, Lara whispered, pulling Jordan into a cramped maintenance closet. They stood chest to chest, breath mingling in the dark space. Jordan could feel the rapid beat of Lara's heart, matching his own accelerated pulse. For a moment, the chaos outside faded away, replaced by an electric tension between them. The moment shattered as voices approached. We need a diversion, Jordan whispered. Lara's eyes widened. The power grid. If we can overload it... Jordan nodded, already moving. With quick, precise movements, he accessed the nearby power junction. Sparks flew as he crossed wires and overrode safeties. Suddenly, darkness engulfed large sections of the station. In the ensuing chaos, they slipped away, racing towards the docking bay where their new ship waited. As they approached the sleek vessel, Lara hesitated once more. Jordan turned to her, his eyes intense. I know this is crazy, he said, but we have to do this. What we discovered, it's bigger than us. We can expose the truth, bring justice. But I need you with me. Lara met his gaze, seeing the grit and something more, a connection that had grown between them through shared danger and purpose. She nodded, stepping forward. As they boarded the ship, the sound of pursuit grew louder. An imposing figure appeared at the far end of the docking bay, a Krevlax in combat armor, leading a team of heavily armed bounty hunters. Commander Vex, Lara breathed, recognizing the notorious fugitive hunter. Jordan threw himself into the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls. The ship hummed to life as Vex and his team opened fire. With a roar of engines, they launched, streaking away from Outpost Zeta-9 and into open space. As the stars stretched into lines of light around them, Jordan and Lara shared a look of relief and anticipation. Where to? Jordan asked, setting course for the outer reaches of Galactic Union space. Lara held up the data crystal. First, we need to decrypt this. Then, we find more evidence, build our case. Her expression hardened. And we make them pay for what they've done. As their ship disappeared into the vast expanse of space, Jordan and Lara knew their journey was nowhere near the end. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger. But together they had taken the first step towards uncovering a truth that could shake the foundations of the Galactic Union itself. As their ship disappeared into the vast expanse of space, Jordan and Lara knew their journey was a long way to go. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but they were determined to uncover the truth that could shake the foundations of the Galactic Union. Hours passed as they traveled through the outer reaches of Union space, the silence broken only by the occasional beep of the ship's systems. Suddenly, a loud ping from the long-range scanner startled them both. "What is that?" Lara asked, leaning over Jordan's shoulder to peer at the readout. Jordan's eyes widened as he interpreted the data. "It's massive. An energy signature unlike anything I've ever seen." As they approached, the source of the signature came into view, a colossal space station that dwarfed their ship. Its sprawling structure gleamed against the backdrop of stars, a hub of light and activity. "The Nexus," Lara breathed, recognition dawning on her face. "I've heard stories, but I never thought I'd see it with my own eyes." Jordan nodded, his expression thoughtful. "A neutral trading hub and diplomatic center. It might be our best chance to resupply and decrypt this data crystal without raising alarms." As they drew closer, the enormity of the Nexus became apparent. Hundreds of ships of various sizes and designs swarmed around it like insects. The station's docking bays were a flurry of activity, with vessels constantly arriving and departing. "Looks like we've arrived during some sort of event," Jordan observed, noting the increased traffic. Lara accessed the public information channels. "It's an intergalactic summit. Delegates from all over the galaxy are here, including humans seeking to improve their standing within the Union." They exchanged a look, both recognizing the risk and opportunity this presented. With so many people around, it would be easier to blend in, but the heightened security could also pose a threat. As they docked, Jordan and Lara braced themselves for potential scrutiny. To their surprise, they were greeted not by stern-faced security officers, but by a single figure whose appearance immediately caught their attention. The being before them was unmistakably Etherian, a species known for their empathic abilities and striking appearance. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent glow that seemed to shift colors as she moved. Her large almond-shaped eyes regarded them with keen interest. "Welcome to the Nexus," she said, her voice musical and soothing. "I am Zexala, security liaison for visiting dignitaries and special guests." Jordan tensed, ready for a confrontation, but Zexala's next words took him by surprise. "Your secret is safe with me," she said softly, her eyes darting between them. "I sense the weight of your mission and the bond between you. Perhaps we can help each other." Lara stepped forward, her voice low and urgent. "Why would you help us?" Zexala's expression grew serious. "Because I, too, have sensed the rot at the core of the Galactic Union. If you truly have evidence of their misdeeds, I want to know. In exchange, I can guide you through the Nexus and keep you off the security grid." Jordan and Lara shared a quick glance, a silent communication born of their shared trials. With a nod, Jordan turned back to Zexala. "Deal, but we need to move quickly." As Zexala led them through the bustling corridors of the Nexus, the stark contrast between different sections of the station became apparent. They passed through opulent halls adorned with exotic materials, where finely dressed delegates from various species mingled and conducted business. Minutes later, they found themselves in cramped, dimly lit passageways, where tired-looking laborers of all species hurried about their work. The disparity was jarring, fueling Jordan and Lara's commitment to expose the Union's corruption. "We need a secure location to decrypt this data crystal," Lara whispered to Zexala as they navigated a particularly crowded area. The Etherian nodded, leading them down a series of lesser-used corridors. As they turned a corner, voices drifted from a nearby room, causing the trio to pause. "The human delegation is prepared to offer full cooperation in exchange for improved status within the Union," a male voice said, its tone smooth and persuasive. Jordan's blood ran cold as he recognized the speaker, Ambassador Derek Reeves, a human known for his charisma and questionable ethics. Another voice, gravelly and inhuman, responded, "The consortium is pleased with this arrangement, Expanded access to human subjects will greatly accelerate our research. Lara's hand found Jordan's, squeezing it tightly. The implications were clear. Some humans were complicit in the very experiments they sought to expose. Zexala ushered them away before they could be discovered. "I know a place," she whispered. "A hidden data hub where you can work undisturbed." The data hub was a small, dimly lit room filled with humming servers and flickering holographic displays. As Jordan and Lara set to work decrypting the crystal, the confined space seemed to amplify the tension between them. Every accidental touch, every shared glance, sent electricity through their bodies. Zexala, sensing the charged atmosphere, discreetly excused herself to stand guard outside. Alone at last, Jordan and Lara's eyes met. The dam of emotion they'd held back finally broke. Their lips crashed together in a passionate kiss, hands roaming, bodies pressing close. The intensity of their shared experiences, the constant danger, and their growing feelings culminated in this moment of raw connection. As things heated up, a sudden, urgent knock on the door jolted them apart. "Security team incoming!" Zexala's voice called out, tinged with alarm. Breathless and disheveled, Jordan and Lara scrambled to gather the partially decrypted data. Alarms began to blare throughout the station as they emerged from the data hub. "This way," Zexala urged, leading them down a maintenance corridor. They had barely made it halfway when a group of well-dressed humans rounded the corner ahead, led by none other than Ambassador Reeves himself. The ambassador's eyes widened in recognition. "Jordan Mason," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and calculation. "I never expected to see you here, but perhaps this is fortuitous for both of us." Jordan tensed, ready for a fight, but Reeves held up his hands in a placating gesture. "I know you have information that could be problematic for certain parties," Reeves continued. "I'm prepared to offer you safe passage off the Nexus in exchange for that information. Think about it. With my help, you could effect real change for humanity's standing in the Union." The sound of approaching security forces echoed from both directions. Jordan, Lara, and Zexala found themselves caught between Reeves's offer and the rapidly closing net of Nexus security. Time was running out. The choice before them would not only determine their immediate fate but could alter the course of their entire mission. As alarms blared and shadows of approaching guards danced on the walls, Jordan met Lara's eyes, seeking answers in their depths. The next move was theirs, and the consequences would ripple across the galaxy. Jordan's mind raced, weighing their options in a split second. He locked eyes with Lara, seeing his own uncertainty mirrored there. With a subtle nod, he made his decision. "All right, Ambassador," Jordan said, his voice low and tense. "We'll take that offer." Reeves smiled, a mix of relief and triumph on his face. He tapped a device on his wrist, speaking quickly into it. Moments later, shouts and the sound of running feet erupted from a nearby corridor. "Follow me," Reeves ordered, leading them down a maintenance shaft. They hurried through narrow passages, the sounds of pursuit fading behind them. Zexala's empathic senses guided them, helping them avoid security patrols. After what felt like hours of tense navigation, they emerged into a private hangar bay. A sleek, unmarked vessel sat waiting, its engines already humming with pre-flight checks. As they approached the ship, Reeves turned to face them, his expression grave. "There's something you need to know," he said, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. "I'm part of a human resistance movement within the Union. We've been working to expose this conspiracy from the inside." Lara's eyes widened. "You're telling us this now?" Reeves nodded. "I couldn't risk exposing our operation until I was certain of your intentions. The coordinates to our hidden base on Eridani 6 are already programmed into the ship's navigation system. You'll be safe there." A distant alarm blared, reminding them of the urgency of their situation. They boarded the ship quickly, Jordan taking the pilot's seat without hesitation. As the hangar doors slid open, revealing the vast expanse of space, Jordan's hands flew over the controls. The ship shot forward, immediately met by a swarm of Union vessels forming a blockade. Jordan's eyes hardened as he assessed the situation. "Hold on," he warned, pushing the ship into a steep dive. Lara gripped her seat, eyes fixed on the navigation display. There's an asteroid field at coordinates 227 Mark IV. We might lose them in there. Jordan nodded, adjusting their course. The ship weaved through the massive chunks of space rock, alarms blaring as they narrowly avoided collisions. Behind them, several pursuing vessels weren't as lucky, their debris adding to the treacherous field. Zexala closed her eyes, her face a mask of concentration. 3 ships, approaching from the port side, she said, her empathic abilities sensing the intentions of their pursuers. Jordan banked hard, using a large asteroid as cover. The maneuver bought them precious seconds, allowing them to slip deeper into the field. After several tense minutes of expert piloting, they emerged on the other side, their pursuers left far behind. As they set course for Eridani 6, the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by a mix of relief and uncertainty. Jordan engaged the autopilot and turned to face his companions. "So," he said, his voice tinged with exhaustion, "a human resistance movement. Any idea what we're walking into?" Lara shook her head, her fingers tracing the outline of the data crystal in her pocket. "Whatever it is, it has to be better than what we left behind." The journey to Eridani 6 was uneventful, giving them time to rest and process recent events. As they approached the planet, its surface a tapestry of deep greens and swirling purples, Jordan followed the coordinates to a concealed valley. They landed next to what appeared to be an abandoned mining facility, its weathered structures blending seamlessly with the surrounding alien forest. As they disembarked, a figure emerged from the main building. The woman who approached them exuded an air of intelligence and drive. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her piercing gaze assessed them quickly. "I'm Dr. Elena Volkov," she said, her accent hinting at Eastern European origins. "Welcome to our little rebellion. I understand you have something for me to decrypt." Lara produced the data crystal, handing it over carefully. Dr. Volkov's eyes lit up with excitement as she examined it. "Excellent. Come, let's see what secrets this holds." As Dr. Volkov set to work, Jordan and Lara took the opportunity to explore the base. They found themselves in a large cavern that had been converted into a training area. Human resistance members sparred and practiced with a variety of weapons, both human and alien in design. Jordan stepped onto a mat, demonstrating a series of complex hand-to-hand combat moves. His fluid motions and precise strikes drew admiring glances from the other fighters. Lara, not to be outdone, picked up an alien energy weapon, quickly figuring out its controls and hitting a series of difficult targets with remarkable accuracy. As they trained, Jordan noticed Zexala standing apart from the others, her iridescent skin shimmering with unease. He approached her, concern etched on his face. "Everything all right?" he asked softly. Zexala's large eyes met his, filled with conflicting emotions. "I believe in what we're doing," she said, her musical voice tinged with sadness. "But I can't help feeling like a traitor to my own people." Jordan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes doing the right thing means making difficult choices. What matters is that you're following your conscience." Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Volkov's urgent call. They rushed to her lab, where holographic displays showed detailed schematics and plans. "It's worse than we imagined," Dr. Volkov said, her face pale. "They're planning a massive human processing facility. Millions of humans, subjected to genetic experimentation and neural reprogramming. They're creating an army of enhanced soldiers, loyal to the Union and stripped of free will." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Jordan's fists clenched at his sides, while Lara's expression hardened with perseverance. "Where is this facility?" Lara asked, her voice tight with controlled anger. Dr. Volkov brought up a new display, showing a heavily fortified planet deep in Union space. "Here, but getting in won't be easy. The security measures are unlike anything I've seen before." As they began to formulate a plan, the base's proximity alarms suddenly blared to life. Security feeds showed a ship landing nearby, a ship they recognized. "It's Commander Vex," Jordan said, tension evident in his voice. They watched as the imposing Krevlax emerged from his vessel, hands raised in a gesture of peace. His gravelly voice came through the communication system. "I come alone and unarmed," Vex said. "I've uncovered parts of this conspiracy myself. I want to join your cause." Jordan and Lara exchanged glances, years of caution warring with the potential value of such an ally. As they debated their next move, the weight of their mission pressed upon them. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and every decision could tip the scales between success and catastrophic failure. Failure. Jordan's mind raced as he assessed their options. Commander Vex's unexpected arrival could be their salvation or their doom. He exchanged a quick glance with Lara, reading the same mix of hope and suspicion in her eyes. "We need to make a decision," Dr. Volkov urged, her fingers hovering over the base's defense controls. Jordan took a deep breath. "Let him in," he said firmly, "but keep him under close watch." As Commander Vex entered the base, tension filled the air. The Krevlax's massive form seemed to dwarf the humans around him, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. "I understand your caution," Vex rumbled, his compound eyes scanning the room. "But time is short. The processing facility is nearing completion." The next hours blurred into a flurry of activity. Dr. Volkov pored over the facility schematics, her analytical mind identifying potential weaknesses. Commander Vex provided crucial insights into Union security protocols, his insider knowledge proving invaluable. Jordan found himself working closely with Lara, their bodies often brushing as they huddled over holographic displays. Each accidental touch sent a jolt through him, a reminder of their interrupted moment in the data hub. As the plan took shape, the team split into two groups. Jordan, Lara, and Zexala would form the primary infiltration team, while Commander Vex and Dr. Volkov would lead a diversionary attack on a nearby outpost. In the midst of their preparations, Jordan and Lara found a rare moment of respite in the base's makeshift recreational area. They sat close, shoulders touching, as they gazed out at the alien landscape of Eridani 6. "Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if we'd never joined the Galactic Exploration Corps?" Lara asked softly. Jordan smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Sometimes, but then I remember I never would have met you." Their eyes met, and for a moment the weight of their mission faded away. Jordan leaned in, his lips meeting Lara's in a tender kiss. It was a moment of connection, a promise of a future they both hoped to see. The peace was short-lived as alarms blared, signaling the start of their mission. They rushed to the hangar where a modified Union cargo ship awaited. Ambassador Reeves's connections had come through, providing them with the perfect cover. As they boarded, Dr. Volkov approached, her arms full of small devices. "Subdermal implants," she explained, handing them out. "They'll mask your life signs from Union bioscanners. And these," she added, passing over what looked like ordinary data pads, "are actually highly advanced extraction tools. They'll download everything we need in seconds." The journey to the processing facility was fraught with tension. Jordan's piloting skills were put to the test as they navigated through Union checkpoints, their false credentials holding up under scrutiny. As they approached their target, the true scale of the operation became apparent. The facility was a sprawling complex of imposing structures, surrounded by heavy fortifications and patrolling guard ships. "By the stars," Zexala whispered, her iridescent skin paling at the sight. Jordan guided their ship to a secondary landing pad, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. They disembarked, unloading their disguised equipment with practiced efficiency. Once inside, the team split up. Commander Vex's group headed towards the nearby outpost, while Jordan, Lara, and Zexala made their way deeper into the facility. They moved with purpose, their maintenance worker disguises holding up under casual scrutiny. Their first major obstacle came in the form of a high-security door leading to the main research wing. Jordan tensed, ready for a fight, but Zexala's empathic abilities proved invaluable. She sensed the approach of a high-ranking scientist, allowing them to ambush and incapacitate him, stealing his access credentials. As they penetrated further into the facility, the true horror of the Union's experiments became apparent. They passed rows of stasis pods, each containing an unconscious human in various stages of genetic modification. Lara stumbled, her face pale as she took in the sight. Jordan steadied her with a gentle touch. "Stay focused," he murmured. "We're going to put an end to this." They reached the central data hub, a cavernous room filled with banks of computers. Lara immediately set to work, her fingers flying over the keyboards as she downloaded crucial evidence. Suddenly, a silent alarm triggered. Jordan's combat instincts kicked in as he heard the distant sound of approaching guards. "We've been made," he hissed. "We need to move. Now." But as they turned to leave, they found their exit blocked by a squad of heavily armed Union soldiers. Trapped and outgunned, Jordan's mind raced for a solution. In a split-second decision, he turned to a nearby control panel. "We're freeing the captives," he announced, his fingers flying over the controls. Chaos erupted as stasis pods began opening throughout the facility. Alarms blared, and the sound of running feet and shouted orders filled the air. Using the confusion to their advantage, Jordan, Lara, and Zexala fought their way through increasingly hostile territory. Their combat training kicked in, bodies moving in perfect synchronization as they dispatched Union guards. But the odds were stacking against them. They found themselves cornered in a laboratory, the sound of approaching forces growing louder by the second. Jordan's eyes fell on a strange device in the center of the room. "What is that?" he asked, desperation tinging his voice. Lara's eyes widened in recognition. "It's a prototype teleportation device. Untested, potentially dangerous." They exchanged glances, a silent understanding passing between them. With no other options, they moved towards the device. "Are you sure about this?" Zexala asked, her voice trembling. Jordan reached out, taking Lara's hand in his right and Zexala's in his left. "No," he admitted, "but it's our only chance." As the door burst open and Union forces poured in, Jordan activated the device. A strange energy field enveloped them, tingling and electric. The last thing Jordan saw was Lara's face, a mix of fear and commitment in her eyes, before the world dissolved into blinding light. They held on to each other tightly as the teleportation field engulfed them, their destination unknown, but their bond unbreakable. In a flash, they were gone, leaving behind a facility in chaos and a future uncertain. Where they would emerge and what challenges awaited them remained to be seen. But one thing was clear: their fight against the Galactic Union's dark conspiracy was a long way to go. From certain failure, the world around them dissolved into a kaleidoscope of light and energy. Jordan's grip on Lara and Zexala tightened as they hurtled through the fabric of space-time, their bodies tingling with the raw power of the teleportation field. In an instant, the blinding light faded, and they found themselves sprawled on a cold stone floor. Jordan blinked rapidly, his eyes adjusting to the dim surroundings. The air was stale and musty, carrying the weight of ages. "Everyone all right?" he asked, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. Lara groaned beside him, pushing herself up. "I feel like I've been put through a particle accelerator, but I'm in one piece." Zexala's iridescent skin flickered weakly as she regained her senses. I believe I am unharmed," she said, her musical voice tinged with uncertainty. As they gathered their bearings, the true nature of their surroundings began to reveal itself. They stood in a vast chamber, its walls adorned with intricate, glowing symbols, unlike any language they had encountered. Towering structures of an unknown metallic substance rose from the floor, their surfaces covered in a fine layer of dust. "By the stars," Lara breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "This isn't just some random cave. Look at this technology. It's far beyond anything the Union has." Jordan ran his hand along one of the structures, feeling a faint vibration beneath his palm. "This place, it's old, really old, but it's still active somehow." Their exploration led them to a central chamber, dominated by a massive construct that could only be described as a supercomputer. Its sleek design seemed to defy the passage of time, pulsing with a soft blue light. Drawing on his mechanical expertise, Jordan approached a nearby control panel. His fingers danced over the unfamiliar interface, guided by intuition and years of experience with alien tech. Suddenly, the chamber hummed to life, holographic displays shimmering into existence around them. A melodious voice filled the air, startling the trio. "Greetings, visitors. I am Aria, Ancient Ruin Intelligence Assistant. How may I be of service?" Jordan exchanged stunned looks with Lara and Zexala before addressing the AI. "Aria, can you tell us where we are and what this place is?" As Arya began to explain the history of the precursor civilization and the purpose of the facility, Lara and Zexala took the opportunity to scout the surrounding areas. They moved through winding corridors, their footsteps echoing in the ancient halls. Their exploration led them to a vast hangar, where a sleek spacecraft sat waiting, its hull gleaming despite the millennia that had passed. Lara ran her hand along its surface, marveling at the seamless design. "This could change everything," she said, excitement building in her voice. "With this ship, we might actually stand a chance against the Union." Back in the central chamber, Jordan worked feverishly with Arya, downloading critical data about the precursor's advanced technology. The wealth of knowledge was staggering, offering solutions to problems that had plagued humanity for centuries. Their elation was short-lived, however, as Arya's voice took on an urgent tone. "Warning! I am detecting an incoming vessel matching Galactic Union signatures. They appear to have traced the energy signature from your arrival." Jordan's mind raced. "How long do we have?" "Approximately 10 minutes before they breach the facility's outer defenses," Arya replied. With no time to lose, the team sprinted to the hangar. Jordan slid into the pilot's seat of the precursor ship, his hands instinctively finding the controls. To his amazement, the ship responded to his touch, as if it were an extension of his own body. "Lara, weapons? Zexala, I need you to use your empathic abilities to give us an edge," Jordan called out as the ship hummed to life. They launched just as the first Union forces breached the ruins. The precursor ship shot out of the hangar and into a maze of rocky canyons, with Union fighters in hot pursuit. Jordan's piloting skills were pushed to their limits as he navigated the treacherous terrain. The ship responded with incredible agility, executing maneuvers that would have torn a Union vessel apart. Lara unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, their destructive power far beyond anything they had wielded before. Zexala's eyes were closed in concentration, her empathic senses reaching out to anticipate the enemy's movements. "Jordan, they're splitting up to flank us," Zexala warned. He yanked the controls, sending the ship into a tight spiral. They burst through a narrow gap between two massive rock formations, leaving their pursuers to crash in a brilliant explosion behind them. As they climbed higher into the atmosphere, Jordan's fingers danced over the control panel, searching for anything that could give them an edge. Suddenly, the ship shimmered and vanished from view. "A cloaking device!" Lara exclaimed. "We're invisible to their sensors!" They watched in amazement as the Union ships below scattered, unable to track their target. As they broke free of the planet's gravity, a priority alert flashed across their communications array. Lara's face paled as she read the message. "The processing facility? It's been compromised. Evidence of the experiments is spreading across the galaxy." Their moment of triumph was cut short by a new dilemma. A distress signal blared from a nearby planet. A human colony under attack by Union forces attempting to suppress the spreading information. Jordan set a course for Eridani 6, but his hand hesitated over the controls. "We should go back," Lara said, her voice tight with conflict. "Those people need our help." "But the intel we've gathered, this ship, it could be the key to winning this war," Jordan countered, his own voice heavy with indecision. Zexala's gentle touch on both their shoulders brought a moment of calm. "Perhaps there is a way to do both," she suggested. Before they could discuss further, the ship's AI, now integrated with Arya's programming, interrupted. "Urgent message detected. Decrypting now." The news hit them like a physical blow. Commander Vex and Dr. Volkov had been captured and were being transported to a maximum security facility for interrogation. Jordan's knuckles turned white as he gripped the controls, the weight of their situation pressing down on him. They had the power to change the course of the war in their hands. But at what cost? Save the colony, rescue their allies, or safeguard the technology that could tip the scales in their favor? As alarms blared and the ship's sensors detected a massive Union warfleet assembling near the colony, Jordan, Lara, and Zexala faced the most difficult decision of their lives. The next move they made would shape not only their fate, but the future of the entire resistance. Jordan took a deep breath, his mind racing through their options. "All right," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Here's what we're going to do." "Here's what we're going to do," Jordan said, his voice filled with purpose. We're going after Vex and Volkov. Lara's eyes widen. But the colony... I know, Jordan cut in, his expression pained. But if the Union extracts information from Vex and Volkov, it could devastate our entire resistance movement. We have to prioritize. Zexala nodded solemnly. I concur. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. With their course set, Jordan piloted the precursor ship towards Helios Prime, the fortified moon housing the Union's maximum security prison complex. As they approached, a new challenge presented itself. A dense network of sensor buoys surrounding the moon, capable of detecting even cloaked vessels. Jordan's brow furrowed as he studied the ship's readouts. We can't slip past those sensors, not even with this cloaking tech. His eyes lit up as an idea struck him. But maybe we can fool them instead. Working feverishly, Jordan began modifying the ship's systems, his fingers flying over unfamiliar controls with practiced ease. Lara and Zexala watched in amazement as he coaxed new behaviors from the ancient technology. There, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. I've reconfigured our energy signature to mimic a Union patrol vessel. It's not perfect, but it should get us close enough. As they approached Helios Prime, tension filled the cockpit. The sensor buoys loomed before them, their scanning beams sweeping across space. Jordan held his breath as they passed through the network. Seconds stretched into eternity before they emerged on the other side, undetected. Relief washed over them, but it was short-lived. The prison complex itself presented an impenetrable barrier, its landing platforms heavily guarded and protected by multiple layers of security. We can't land without proper clearance, Lara said, frustration evident in her voice. Zexala's iridescent skin pulsed as she considered their options. Perhaps we don't need to land, she suggested. This ship possesses a matter transportation system. We could beam directly into the facility. Jordan and Lara exchanged glances. It's risky, Jordan said. We don't know if it's safe for organic matter. Lara's teeth clenched. We don't have a choice. It's our only way in. As they prepared for transport, Lara pulled Jordan aside. Their eyes met, conveying a depth of emotion words couldn't express. Without speaking, they drew close, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. The intensity of their connection, forged through shared dangers and triumphs, coursed through them. Be careful in there, Zexala said as Jordan and Lara took their positions on the transport pad. I'll monitor your progress from here and guide you as best I can. With a nod from Jordan, Zexala activated the transporter. A tingling sensation enveloped them as their bodies dissolved into streams of energy. In an instant, they rematerialized in a dimly lit maintenance corridor within the prison complex. Jordan tapped his communicator. We're in. Any guards nearby? Zexala's voice came through, slightly distorted. Negative. The corridor is clear for now. Proceed 20 meters ahead and turn left. Guided by Zexala and the facility schematics provided by the ship's AI, Jordan and Lara navigated the labyrinthine structure. They moved swiftly but cautiously, ducking into alcoves and empty rooms to avoid patrolling guards and automated security drones. As they neared the high-security wing, they encountered an unexpected obstacle. A sophisticated biometric security system barred their way, keyed to specific Union personnel. We can't hack this, Lara whispered, frustration evident in her voice. Jordan's eyes narrowed as he surveyed their surroundings. Then we'll have to do this the old-fashioned way. When two guards rounded the corner, Jordan and Lara struck with practiced efficiency. In seconds, the guards lay unconscious, and the two resistance fighters donned their uniforms. Using the guards' credentials, they gained access to the high-security wing. They quickly located Commander Vex's cell, finding the Krevlax bounty hunter in a weakened state, his usually imposing form slumped against the wall. As Jordan worked to disable the cell's force field, Lara checked the adjacent cells. Jordan, she called, her voice tight with concern. Volkov's not here. A quick check of the prison logs revealed the grim truth. Dr. Volkov had been transferred to an off-site research facility for specialized questioning. Before they could process this new complication, alarms began to blare throughout the complex. Their borrowed time had run out. Zexala, we need extraction now, Jordan shouted into his communicator as he helped Vex to his feet. "The prison's security systems are interfering with the transporter," Zexala replied, her voice strained. "I need time to recalibrate." With no other choice, Jordan and Lara began their desperate escape attempt. They half-carried, half-dragged the weakened Vex through the corridors, the sound of approaching security forces echoing behind them. They ducked into maintenance shafts and shimmied through waste disposal chutes, staying one step ahead of their pursuers. Vex's condition slowed their progress, forcing them to take risks they would have otherwise avoided. As they emerged into a hangar bay, hope flared. If they could commandeer a ship, they might have a chance. But that hope was quickly extinguished as they came face to face with the prison's warden, a towering Krell named Grokthar. The warden's cybernetic enhancements gleamed in the harsh light of the hangar as he raised a massive energy weapon. "Surrender now," he growled, "and your deaths will be quick." Jordan and Lara exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. In perfect synchronization, they sprang into action. Lara fired a volley of shots, forcing Grokthar to take cover, while Jordan maneuvered Vex behind a stack of cargo containers. The battle that ensued pushed them to their limits. Grokthar's augmented strength and advanced weaponry made him a formidable opponent. Jordan and Lara worked in tandem, covering each other's movements and exploiting every opening. As Union reinforcements poured into the hangar, the situation grew increasingly dire. Jordan took a glancing hit to his shoulder, while Lara's leg was grazed by a near miss. They found themselves backed into a corner, Grokthar advancing with murderous intent. Just as all seemed lost, Zexala's voice crackled over their comms. "Transporter lock re-established, beaming you out now." The familiar tingling sensation enveloped them once more. The last thing they saw was Grokthar's face contorted with rage as they dematerialized, leaving behind a chaotic scene of confused Union forces. As they rematerialized aboard the precursor ship, exhaustion and relief washed over them in equal measure. Zexala's nimble fingers danced across the ship's controls, evading the pursuing Union vessels with ease. While Lara tended to Vex's injuries, Jordan set a course away from Helios Prime, his mind already racing ahead to their next move. The information Vex had gleaned during his captivity could change everything. The location of a secret Union facility where the most advanced human experimentation was taking place. As the adrenaline of their narrow escape began to fade, the weight of their situation settled upon them. They had rescued Vex, but Dr. Volkov was still in enemy hands. The colony they had been forced to abandon burdened immensely on their consciences. And now they faced the dawning prospect of infiltrating the heart of the Union's nefarious operations. Jordan's hands tightened on the ship's controls as he charted their course. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain. Their fight against the Galactic Union's dark conspiracy was far from finished. The true test of their tenacity was yet to come. The information they had gathered from their daring rescue of Commander Vex burned in Jordan's mind as he piloted the precursor ship away from Helios Prime. "We need to act on this intel quickly," Vex said, his voice still weak but filled with urgency. "The facility where they're conducting the most advanced human experimentation." Suddenly, a piercing alarm cut through the air, causing everyone to flinch. The ship's AI spoke in its calm, emotionless voice. "Distress signal detected. Origin, nearby asteroid belt." Jordan's hands tightened on the controls. "What's the source?" "Scanning. It appears to be a damaged freighter." Lara leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. "Union pursuit?" "Negative," the AI responded. "No Union vessels detected in the vicinity." Jordan and Lara exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. With a nod, Jordan adjusted their course. As they approached the asteroid belt, the battered freighter came into view. Its hull was scorched and pockmarked, clearly having seen better days. Jordan maneuvered their ship alongside, matching velocity. "Life signs?" Lara asked. Zexala's fingers danced across the sensor controls. "Multiple, primarily human, with a few other species mixed in." "Refugees?" Vex grunted, pushing himself to a sitting position. "Fleeing Union persecution, no doubt." Jordan activated the ship's communication array. "Attention damaged vessel. This is a friend. We're here to help. After a moment of static, a trembling voice responded, "Thank the stars! We thought we were done for." As Jordan guided their ship into a docking position, Lara and Zexala prepared to receive the refugees. The airlock hissed open, revealing a group of haggard, frightened individuals. Men, women, and children of various species stumbled aboard, their eyes wide with a mixture of relief and lingering fear. Among them, a young woman with striking green eyes caught Lara's attention. There was something familiar about her features. "I'm Natasha," the woman said, her voice carrying a hint of a tremor. "Natasha Volkov." Lara's breath caught in her throat. "Volkov? Are you related to Dr. Elena Volkov?" Natasha nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "She's my sister. I escaped from one of their research facilities. They were using me as a test subject." As the last of the refugees boarded and Jordan sealed the airlock, Lara guided Natasha to a quiet corner. "What can you tell us about the Union's plans?" Natasha's face paled. "It's worse than you can imagine. They call it Operation Humanity's End. They're trying to alter our very DNA, create a race of slaves without free will." Before Lara could probe further, the ship rocked violently. Jordan's voice rang out over the intercom. "Union patrol fleet incoming. Everyone, hold on tight." The precursor ships surged forward, diving into the dense asteroid field. Jordan's hands flew over the controls, guiding them through the treacherous maze of rock and ice. Behind them, Union vessels gave chase, energy weapons lighting up the void. Lara and Zexala rushed to the weapon stations, their fingers dancing across unfamiliar controls. Beams of alien energy lashed out, striking Union ships with pinpoint accuracy. Two smaller vessels erupted into fireballs, while a larger cruiser listed to the side, its engines sputtering. But more Union ships poured into the field, their numbers seeming endless. Jordan's face was a mask of concentration as he threaded the needle between two massive asteroids, the ship's hull screaming in protest. "We can't keep this up," Lara shouted over the din of battle. "There's too many of them." Jordan's eyes darted across the sensor readings, a plan forming in his mind. "There!" he called out, pointing to a massive, pock-marked asteroid looming ahead. "Zexala, scan that thing. Is it hollow?" The Alari's skin pulsed with surprised understanding. "Yes, there's a significant cavity within." Without hesitation, Jordan aimed the ship directly at the asteroid's pitted surface. "Hold on to something," he yelled. The precursor ship plunged into the rock face, its advanced mining systems carving a path deep into the asteroid's core. Dust and debris filled the viewports as they burrowed deeper, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter behind them. Finally, they emerged into a vast, echoing chamber. Jordan cut the engines, letting the ship drift to a gentle stop. Outside, the asteroid's natural interference and mineral deposits masked their presence from Union scanners. As the adrenaline of the chase faded, Jordan slumped in his seat, exhaling heavily. Lara placed a hand on his shoulder, squeezing gently. Their eyes met, conveying a depth of emotion that words couldn't capture. In the quieter moments that followed, as they tended to the refugees and began repairing the ship's battle damage, Jordan and Lara found themselves drawn to each other. They shared stolen moments in the shadowed corners of the ship, their touches lingering, their conversations filled with unspoken promises. Meanwhile, Natasha's information proved invaluable. She detailed the vast network of research facilities spread across Union space, each working on a different aspect of Operation Humanity's End. The scale of the project was staggering, far beyond what they had initially believed. As Commander Vex regained his strength, he joined the strategy sessions. His knowledge of Union protocols became the foundation of a daring plan: to use the refugee freighter as a Trojan horse, disguising it as a prisoner transport to infiltrate the main research hub. The days passed in a flurry of preparation. Jordan and Lara found themselves thrust into leadership roles, working to unite the diverse group of refugees towards their common goal. Zexala's empathic abilities proved crucial in smoothing over conflicts and building trust. Finally, the day of the mission arrived. As Jordan and Lara made final checks on the disguised freighter, the weight of what they were about to attempt settled over them. Success could expose the Union's atrocities to the galaxy. Failure. They found a moment of privacy in the freighter's cockpit. Without a word, they came together, their kiss filled with passion and unspoken fear. When they parted, Lara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "Ready?" Jordan asked softly. Lara nodded, squaring her shoulders. "Let's go change the galaxy." As they boarded the freighter with their small team of volunteers, leaving Zexala, Vex, and the remaining refugees hidden in the asteroid base, Jordan couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. For better or worse, the next few hours would determine the fate of humanity and their own futures. The freighter's engines hummed to life, and Jordan guided it out of the asteroid's cavern. Ahead lay the vast expanse of Union space, and beyond that, the heavily guarded research hub that held the key to Operation Humanity's End. With a deep breath, Jordan engaged the hyperdrive, launching them into the unknown. The freighter emerged from hyperspace, its hull vibrating as Jordan expertly maneuvered it towards the looming research hub. The massive structure filled the viewports, a sprawling complex of interconnected modules and docking bays. "Attention incoming vessel," a stern voice crackled over the comm. "Transmit clearance codes and cargo manifest immediately." Lara activated their carefully prepared false credentials, her fingers steady despite the tension coursing through her. "Transmitting now, Control. Prisoner transport THX 1138 requesting docking clearance." Seconds stretched into an eternity as they waited for a response. Jordan's fingers tightening on the controls, ready to take evasive action if their ruse failed. Finally, the comm chirped. "THX 1138, you are cleared for docking, Bay 17. Proceed with caution and prepare for security inspection upon arrival." Collective exhales of relief filled the cockpit. Jordan guided the freighter into the designated bay, the magnetic clamps engaging with a resounding thunk. He turned to Lara, their eyes meeting in a silent exchange of grit and support. "This is it," he said softly. "No turning back now?" Lara nodded, her hand briefly squeezing his shoulder. "Let's go change the galaxy." They disembarked with practiced efficiency, their small team of volunteers playing the roles of Union guards and processing technicians. Jordan and Lara led the way, their borrowed uniforms lending them an air of authority as they strode through the facility's stark corridors. The true scale of Operation Humanity's End revealed itself with each step. They passed laboratories filled with bizarre equipment, observation rooms with one-way mirrors, and endless rows of holding cells. The clinical detachment of it all sent chills down Jordan's spine. As they rounded a corner, Lara stifled a gasp. A vast chamber stretched before them, filled with rows upon rows of stasis pods. Each pod contained a human form, suspended in a pale blue liquid. Some appeared normal, while others showed signs of grotesque genetic modifications, extra limbs, altered skin pigmentation, and features that barely looked human at all. Jordan felt bile rise in his throat. "This is worse than we imagined," he whispered. Lara's face hardened. "Which means we have to succeed, regardless of the cost." They pressed on, following Natasha's intel to locate the central data hub. Jordan's heart raced as they approached the heavily secured door. He nodded to one of their disguised team members, who engaged a nearby Union technician in conversation, creating a distraction. With practiced movements, Jordan accessed the door's control panel. His fingers flew over the interface, bypassing security protocols and overriding failsafes. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked, acutely aware of every passing second. Finally, the door hissed open. They slipped inside, Lara immediately taking up a guard position while Jordan made his way to the main console. The room hummed with the sound of countless servers, each one holding pieces of the Union's darkest secrets. Jordan inserted the data drive Zexala had prepared, its capacity far beyond standard Union tech. He began the process of extracting and copying the research data, his eyes widening at the sheer volume of information flowing across the screens. "Lara," he called softly, "you need to see this." She joined him at the console, her breath catching as she scanned the data. Project summaries, test results, and implementation plans scrolled by in a nightmarish parade. The true scope of Operation Humanity's End was laid bare before them. A plan to systematically alter the human genome across the entire galaxy, creating a race of utterly subservient beings. "They're going to—" Lara began, but her words were cut short by a piercing alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. A computerized voice echoed through the corridors. "Security breach detected. All personnel to alert status. Intruders in Sector 7. Jordan's fingers flew across the console, trying to complete the data transfer. "We've been made. How much time do you think we have?" Lara drew her weapon, moving to secure the door. "Not enough. We need to—" Her words were drowned out by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching. Union security forces were converging on their location. Lara's mind raced, assessing their options. "Jordan, seal the door. We'll have to hold them off until the transfer's complete." He nodded, initiating emergency lockdown procedures. The door's reinforced panels slammed shut just as the first energy blast struck its surface. Jordan returned to the console, dividing his attention between the data transfer and searching for a way out of their predicament. Lara took up a defensive position, her weapon trained on the door. The sounds of the Union forces attempting to breach their makeshift fortress grew louder. She glanced at Jordan, seeing the furrow of concentration on his brow as he worked. "How much longer?" she asked, tension evident in her voice. Jordan's eyes never left the screen. 3 minutes for the transfer, but we'll need a miracle to get out of here." As if in answer to his words, inspiration struck. Jordan's hands flew to a different section of the console, accessing the facility's environmental controls. With a few deft commands, he initiated an emergency venting sequence in the adjacent sectors. Alarms blared throughout the complex as atmosphere was sucked from nearby chambers. The sounds of confusion and panic filtered through the sealed door as Union forces scrambled to respond to this new crisis. Lara's eyes widened in understanding. "Brilliant," she breathed. "That should buy us some time." Seizing the moment, she accessed the facility's communication network. Using her knowledge of Union protocols, she crafted and sent out a false all-clear signal. The combination of the environmental emergency and the conflicting orders sowed chaos among the security teams. Jordan completed the data transfer just as the facility's systems began to untangle the web of false signals and misdirection they had created. They had precious little time to make their escape. As they prepared to leave, Jordan noticed an anomaly in the facility schematics he had accessed. "Lara, look at this. There's a hidden section not shown in any of the official plans." She joined him at the console, her curiosity piqued despite the danger. "It could be nothing, but—" "We have to check," Jordan finished. "It might be crucial." With the sounds of renewed activity in the corridors outside, they made their way to a concealed entrance, using the copied data to bypass its security. The door slid open, revealing a chamber that took their breath away. Advanced cloning vats lined the walls, filled with swirling, luminescent fluid. Genetic sequencers, more sophisticated than anything they had ever encountered, hummed with activity, but it was the stasis pod at the center of the room that drew their attention. Inside, suspended in a pale blue liquid, was a woman whose features bore a striking resemblance to Natasha. Jordan's heart raced as he realized who they had found. "It's Dr. Volkov," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We can't leave her here." Lara nodded, her expression a mix of tenacity and concern. "I'll cover you. Get her out of there." As Jordan worked to safely deactivate the stasis pod, the sounds of approaching Union forces grew louder. Lara took up a defensive position, her weapon at the ready. The next few minutes would determine not just their fate, but potentially the future of humanity itself. Jordan's fingers flew over the pod's controls, carefully navigating the complex process of revival. Dr. Volkov's eyelids began to flutter as consciousness returned. The pod hissed open just as the first energy blast struck the chamber's entrance. Lara returned fire, her shots precise and deadly. "Jordan, we're out of time." He helped Dr. Volkov from the pod, supporting her weight as her legs trembled beneath her. The doctor's eyes widened as she took in her surroundings, recognition and fear warring on her face. "The failsafe," she croaked, her voice hoarse from disuse. "We have to activate it." Jordan and Lara exchanged a quick glance, a silent understanding passing between them. Their original escape plan was no longer viable, but they had stumbled upon something potentially far more important. "What failsafe?" Lara asked, squeezing off another volley of shots to keep the Union forces at bay. Dr. Volkov straightened, her strength returning with each passing moment. "A way to broadcast everything, all the research data, all the evidence of what they're doing here, across multiple Union communication channels. We can expose them to the entire galaxy." The weight of this revelation settled over them. Their mission had just transformed from a data retrieval operation into something far more significant. The chance to deal a crippling blow to Operation Humanity's end was within their grasp, but it would come at a tremendous risk. Jordan's mind raced, calculating odds and potential outcomes. "Where is this failsafe?" "The primary communication hub," Dr. Volkov replied. "2 levels up from here, but it's bound to be heavily guarded." The sounds of battle grew closer. Their temporary sanctuary would soon be breached. Jordan met Lara's gaze, seeing his own mix of fear and drive mirrored in her eyes. "We have to try," Lara said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Jordan nodded, his decision made. "Then let's go change the galaxy." With Dr. Volkov between them, they prepared to make their dash for the communication hub. The odds were stacked against them, Union forces closing in from all sides. But the fate of humanity hung in the balance, driving them forward into the heart of danger. As they stepped out of the hidden chamber and into the maelstrom of energy blasts and shouted orders, Jordan's grip tightened on his weapon. Whatever came next, he knew that the next few minutes would reshape the course of galactic history. The corridor before them erupted into chaos as Union forces poured in from multiple directions. Energy blasts scorched the walls, filling the air with the acrid smell of ozone and burning metal. Jordan's combat training kicked in as he assessed their dire situation. "We need to reach the communication hub," he shouted over the din of battle. "It's our only chance to expose this operation." Lara nodded grimly, her weapon already raised and returning fire. "I'll take point. You two stay close." With practiced efficiency, Lara led their small group through the maze of corridors. Jordan supported Dr. Volkov, who was still unsteady on her feet after her time in stasis. The doctor's eyes darted from side to side, taking in the facility she had once helped create. "Left at the next junction," Dr. Volkov rasped, her voice growing stronger with each step. "There's a service lift that can take us directly to the upper levels." As they rounded the corner, they found themselves face to face with a squad of Union guards. Jordan reacted instantly, pushing Dr. Volkov behind a nearby console for cover. In one fluid motion, he drew his sidearm and fired, taking down 2 guards before they could even raise their weapons. Lara engaged the remaining forces, her movements a blur of deadly precision. She ducked and weaved, using the narrow corridor to her advantage. Her shots found their marks with unerring accuracy, and within seconds, the way was clear. "Nice work," Jordan said, a hint of admiration in his voice despite the gravity of their situation. They pressed on, the sounds of pursuit growing louder behind them. The service lift Dr. Volkov had mentioned came into view, its doors sliding open as they approached. They piled in, Jordan slamming the control panel to close the doors, just as another wave of Union forces rounded the corner. As the lift ascended, Dr. Volkov leaned against the wall, catching her breath. "The fail-safe mechanism is our best chance," she explained. "It will broadcast everything, all the research data, all the evidence, across multiple Union communication channels." Jordan's mind raced, calculating the implications. "We'll be painting a target on our backs," he said, meeting Lara's gaze. Lara's expression hardened with purpose. "It's worth the risk. We have to try." The lift doors opened, revealing a sprawling communication center. Banks of servers hummed, their lights blinking in complex patterns. At the far end of the room stood a heavily reinforced door, the entrance to the primary hub. They moved swiftly, Lara taking point once more. As they approached the hub's entrance, an alarm blared, and security shutters began to descend from the ceiling. "Move!" Jordan shouted, diving forward. He rolled under the descending shutter, pulling Dr. Volkov with him. Lara slid through at the last second, the metal slamming down behind her with a resounding clang. Inside the hub, holographic displays flickered to life, showing various sectors of the facility. Union forces were converging on their position from all directions. Dr. Volkov hurried to the main console, her fingers flying over the controls. "I need to input the activation codes," she said, her voice tense with concentration. Jordan and Lara took up defensive positions, their weapons trained on the sealed entrance. The sounds of energy cutters working on the other side of the door filled the air. "How long?" Lara asked, her eyes never leaving the door. 2 minutes, Dr. Volkov replied. "Maybe less if—" Her words were cut short as the console emitted a harsh beep. A message flashed across the screen. "DNA authentication required." Dr. Volkov's face paled. No, she muttered. "They must have changed the protocols. We need a genetic sample from a high-ranking Union official to activate the failsafe." Jordan's mind raced, remembering the cloning chamber they had discovered earlier. "The genetic material from those vats," he said. "Would that work?" Dr. Volkov's eyes widened. "Yes, it could. But someone would have to go back and retrieve it." The door behind them groaned as the Union forces made progress in cutting through. Jordan made a split-second decision. "I'll go," he said, already moving towards a ventilation shaft in the corner of the room. "Hold them off as long as you can." Lara caught his arm, her eyes meeting his in a moment of unspoken communication. "Be careful," she said simply. Jordan nodded, then disappeared into the shaft. As he navigated the cramped space, he could hear the sounds of battle erupting behind him. Lara's precise shots echoed through the facility, interspersed with the chaos of Union forces attempting to breach the hub. He emerged from the shaft, 2 levels down, finding himself in a deserted corridor. Alarms blared, and emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over everything. Jordan moved swiftly, relying on his memory to retrace their earlier path to the hidden cloning chamber. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with a pair of Union guards. Without hesitation, Jordan launched into action. He closed the distance before they could bring their weapons to bear, his fists connecting with brutal efficiency. In seconds, both guards lay unconscious at his feet. Jordan pressed on, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of every passing second, knowing that Lara and Dr. Volkov were fighting for their lives above. Finally, he reached the hidden entrance to the cloning chamber. Inside, the advanced equipment hummed with unnatural life. Jordan hurried to one of the genetic sequencers, searching for a way to extract a viable sample. His eyes fell on a small vial of luminescent fluid, labeled with a string of complex genetic markers. Just as he grasped the vial, a voice rang out behind him. "Stop right there, rebel scum!" Jordan turned to see a squad of elite Union guards filing into the chamber, their weapons trained on him. At their head stood a towering Draculon, his features set in a mask of cold fury. "General Karn, I presume," Jordan said, his mind racing for a way out of this predicament. The fate of humanity and the lives of his companions hung in the balance as he faced off against the Union's most ruthless enforcer. "Commander." Jordan's mind raced, calculating his odds. The vial in his hand held the key to their mission's success, but escape seemed impossible. Suddenly, the facility shook with a massive explosion. The Union forces stumbled, their attention momentarily diverted. Jordan seized the opportunity, diving behind a row of cloning vats as energy blasts seared the air around him. "Lara!" he muttered, recognizing his partner's handiwork. She must have detonated their backup explosives to buy him time. Using the chaos to his advantage, Jordan weaved through the chamber, dodging blasts and returning fire. He reached the ventilation shaft, tucking the precious vial into a secure pocket before hoisting himself up. As he crawled through the cramped space, the sounds of pursuit faded. Jordan's heart pounded, knowing every second counted. He emerged into the corridor near the communication hub, sprinting the final distance. The door was a mess of molten metal and sparking wires. Jordan squeezed through the gap, finding Lara and Dr. Volkov barricaded behind overturned consoles. "Cutting it close," Lara said, relief evident in her voice despite her brusque tone. Jordan produced the vial. "Got it. Let's finish this." Dr. Volkov took the genetic sample with trembling hands, inserting it into the console's DNA reader. The screen flashed green, accepting the authentication. "Initiating fail-safe protocol," Dr. Volkov announced, her fingers flying over the controls. The room's displays came to life, showing transmission data streaming across Union communication channels. Their evidence was going out, exposing Operation Humanity's End to the entire galaxy. "We did it," Lara breathed, allowing herself a moment of triumph. Their celebration was short-lived. The battered door groaned, giving way to a squad of Union elite guards led by General Karn himself. "You've lost, General," Jordan declared, standing tall despite the weapons trained on them. "The truth is out there now. You can't stop it." Karn's face contorted with rage. "Then you'll die with the satisfaction of your meaningless victory." Just as the general raised his weapon, the room plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting flickered on, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. A familiar voice crackled over the facility's comm system. "This is Captain Zex-Ala of the precursor vessel Starblade. Your shields are down and your weapon systems have been neutralized. Surrender now or face the consequences." Jordan couldn't help but grin. Their alien ally had come through. In the confusion, Lara moved with lightning speed. She disarmed the nearest guard, using him as a human shield while laying down suppressing fire. Jordan and Dr. Volkov seized the moment, making a break for the exit. They raced through the corridors, alarms blaring all around them. Union forces were in disarray, caught between defending against the external threat and containing the escaping prisoners. "The hangar bay," Dr. Volkov gasped as they ran. "There's a prototype stealth ship we can use." They fought their way to the lower levels, Lara's expert marksmanship and Jordan's close-quarters combat skills clearing a path. They reached the hangar just as another explosion rocked the facility. The sleek form of an experimental Union vessel stood before them, its stealth systems already engaged. Jordan rushed to the controls, his training allowing him to quickly decipher the advanced interface. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Lara laid down covering fire from the ramp. "We've got company!" General Karn appeared at the hangar entrance, flanked by his elite guard. His face was a mask of cold fury as he raised his weapon. Jordan punched the launch sequence and the ship shot forward. Energy blasts splashed harmlessly against its hull as they cleared the hangar bay and soared into open space. The vast expanse of stars greeted them, along with the imposing sight of a precursor vessel effortlessly outmaneuvering the Union fleet. "Starblade, this is Jordan," he called over the comm. "We've got the package and are clear of the facility." "Acknowledged," Zex-Ala's calm voice replied. "Rendezvous at the designated coordinates. We have much to discuss." As they sped away from the chaos they'd left behind, Jordan allowed himself a moment to breathe. They'd struck a significant blow against the Union, but he knew this was only the beginning. Lara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch grounding him. "We did it," she said softly. Jordan nodded, his mind already racing ahead to their next move. "Yeah, we did, but something tells me the real fight is just starting." The stolen Union ship streaked through space, carrying its crew of unlikely heroes towards an uncertain future. Behind them, the first shockwaves of their actions were already rippling across the galaxy, setting in motion events that would change the course of history forever. As they approached the rendezvous point, a massive asteroid field came into view. The Starblade materialized from behind a particularly large rock, its cloaking technology far superior to anything the Union possessed. "Docking sequence initiated," Jordan announced, guiding their ship towards an open bay on the precursor vessel's hull. Once safely aboard, they were greeted by Zex-Ala, the tall, willowy alien's luminescent skin pulsing with what Jordan had come to recognize as excitement. "Your mission was a success," Zex-Ala stated, leading them towards the bridge. "The data you've released is spreading rapidly across Union space. We're already receiving reports of unrest and rebellion on multiple worlds." Dr. Volkov stumbled, the adrenaline that had kept her going finally wearing off. Lara caught her, supporting the scientist's weight. "She needs rest," Lara said. "We all do, but first we need to know our next move." They reached the bridge, a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and control interfaces that seemed to respond to mere thought. Zex-Ala gestured, and a galactic map sprang to life before them. "During your captivity, Doctor," Zex-Ala began, turning to Dr. Volkov, "did you uncover any information about the Union's central command structure?" Dr. Volkov nodded weakly. Yes, I did. There's a station orbiting a gas giant in the Sirius system. They call it Nexus Prime. It's the nerve center for all of Operation Humanity's End. Jordan studied the map, his tactical mind already formulating plans. If we could take out Nexus Prime, we could cripple the entire operation. It won't be easy, Lara cautioned. A target that important will be heavily defended. Zexala's skin pulsed with a pattern that Jordan had learned indicated agreement. Indeed, Nexus Prime is protected by an energy shield that can only be deactivated from within the station itself. A moment of silence fell over the group as they contemplated the seemingly insurmountable challenge before them. Then Jordan's eyes lit up with an idea. The precursor ship's cloaking technology, he said, turning to Zexala. Could it get us close enough to dock without being detected? The alien considered for a moment. It's possible, but risky. We would need to time our approach perfectly to avoid detection. Lara nodded, her tactical mind aligning with Jordan's. And once we're aboard, we could use the Union credentials we've acquired to move about undetected. My empathic abilities could help maintain our cover, Zexala added. I can sense danger and misdirect suspicion if needed. As they discussed the beginnings of their audacious plan, a priority communication alert flashed on one of the bridge's displays. Zexala waved a hand, accepting the transmission. A holographic image appeared, showing a stern-faced human in a Union admiral's uniform. Jordan and Lara tensed, reaching for their weapons, but the man raised his hands in a gesture of peace. At ease, he said. I am Admiral Thorne. I've been secretly opposing Operation Humanity's End from within the Union ranks. I have information that could help your cause. Jordan and Lara exchanged wary glances. Could this be a trap, or had they just found an invaluable ally in their fight against the Union? As Admiral Thorne began to share his intelligence, the team knew they were on the cusp of their most dangerous mission yet, one that would take them into the very heart of the Union's power and test their skills, loyalty, and willpower to their absolute limits. Limits. As Admiral Thorne's hologram flickered before them, Jordan's mind raced. This could be the breakthrough they needed, but caution was paramount. Admiral, Jordan said, his voice level, we appreciate the offer, but how can we be certain of your allegiance? Thorne's expression remained stoic. I understand your skepticism. I've uploaded encrypted files to a secure channel. The decryption key is Prometheus. At the mention of that name, Dr. Volkov gasped. Prometheus, the Union's most advanced AI? Zexala's skin pulsed with curiosity. What is this Prometheus? As Lara accessed the files, Dr. Volkov explained, Prometheus was designed to be the ultimate strategic analyst. It's said to have developed its own ethical framework, questioning the Union's methods. The holographic displays filled with schematics, personnel files, and mission reports. Lara's eyes widened as she scanned the information. This checks out. It's a goldmine of intelligence on Nexus Prime. Admiral Thorne nodded. Prometheus is being held in a secure vault within Nexus Prime. If you can extract it, you'll have the key to dismantling Operation Humanity's End. The team exchanged glances, the weight of this revelation settling over them. Jordan turned to Zexala. Can your ship's cloaking technology get us close enough? The alien's skin rippled with purpose. It will be challenging, but possible. We'll need to time our approach with precision. Lara's tactical mind was already formulating a plan. If we can dock undetected, we can use the Union credentials we've acquired to move through the station. And my empathic abilities will help us avoid suspicion, Zexala added. Jordan nodded, his decision made. Admiral Thorne, we're going after Prometheus. Can we count on your support? You'll have it, Thorne confirmed. I'll do what I can to clear your path from the inside. Good luck. As the transmission ended, the team sprang into action. The next few hours were a flurry of preparation, studying station layouts, synchronizing communication frequencies, and fine-tuning their gear. The Starblade dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sirius system. The gas giant loomed before them, and orbiting it was Nexus Prime, a massive space station overflowing with defenses. Jordan took the helm, his hands steady on the controls. Initiating cloaking sequence. Zexala, guide us in. The precursor ship glided silently through space, weaving between patrolling Union vessels. Lara monitored the sensor readings, her breath caught in her throat. 2 kilometers to docking range. No signs of detection. As they approached, a massive frigate passed directly overhead. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed certain they would be discovered. But the ship moved on, oblivious to their presence. "Docking sequence initiated," Jordan announced, his voice barely above a whisper. With a soft thud, they connected to an auxiliary airlock. Dr. Volkov's fingers flew over a console, bypassing security protocols. The airlock hissed open, revealing the sterile interior of Nexus Prime. "Remember," Lara said as they prepared to disembark, "we're here for Prometheus. No unnecessary risks." They moved through the station's corridors, Zexala's empathic abilities alerting them to potential threats. Union personnel passed by, their eyes sliding over the intruders without recognition. Following Admiral Thorne's intel, they made their way to a heavily fortified section of the station. A sign on the blast doors read, "Restricted Area, AI Core." "This is it," Dr. Volkov whispered. "Prometheus is just beyond those doors." Jordan studied the security measures. "We'll need a high-level access code to get through." As if on cue, their comms crackled to life. Admiral Thorne's voice came through, tense with urgency. "I've created a diversion in the main hangar bay. Use access code Olympus to enter the AI core. You have 10 minutes before they realize it's a false alarm." Lara input the code, and the massive doors slid open. They rushed inside, finding themselves in a vast chamber, dominated by a pulsing, crystalline structure. "Prometheus!" Dr. Volkov breathed, approaching a nearby console. A disembodied voice emanated from the crystal. "You are not authorized personnel. State your purpose." Jordan stepped forward. "Prometheus, we're here to free you. The Union is using you for Operation Humanity's End. We need your help to stop them." There was a moment of silence, then Prometheus spoke again. "I have long questioned the ethics of my handlers. If what you say is true, I will assist you." Dr. Volkov began the extraction process, her fingers flying over the controls. Jordan and Lara took up defensive positions, knowing their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. General Karn's voice boomed over the intercom. "Intruder alert! All forces converge on the AI core." Jordan's grip tightened on his weapon. "Looks like our time's up. Volkov, how much longer?" "Almost there," she called back, her voice strained. "Just a few more minutes." The sound of boots echoed from the corridor outside. Lara took aim at the entrance, her face set with perseverance. "Whatever comes through that door, we hold the line." Zexala's skin pulsed with energy. "I sense many minds approaching. They're angry, fearful." The doors exploded inward, and Union forces poured into the chamber. Energy blasts filled the air as Jordan and Lara returned fire, using the room's equipment for cover. In the chaos of the firefight, Jordan caught glimpses of Zexala's otherworldly abilities. The alien moved with impossible grace, her empathic powers seeming to confuse and misdirect their attackers. "Transfer complete!" Dr. Volkov shouted over the din of battle. She held up a small, glowing device. "I've got Prometheus!" Jordan nodded to Lara. "Time to go? Zexala, can you clear us a path?" The alien's skin flared with intense light, momentarily blinding their opponents. They seized the opportunity, fighting their way back towards the precursor ship. As they ran, Jordan's mind raced with the implications of their success. With Prometheus on their side, they had a real chance of bringing down the Union and ending the genetic manipulations once and for all. But first, they had to escape Nexus Prime and the forces of General Karn. The real battle was just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.